Welcome to the Explainer. Let's just dive right in. If you're a senior engineer, you already know that AI coding tools are literally everywhere right now. But getting them to reliably output production-grade code without holding their hand the entire time, yeah, that is still a massive challenge. So today, we're going to look at how you can finally achieve that by wrapping tools like the OpenAI Codex CLI in a multi-agent orchestration layer. We're talking about pointing an autonomous engineering team at a GitHub issue, walking away, and coming back to fully verified code.
To get started, I want to pose a bit of a provocative question. Why do single AI coding agents eventually fail? Think about it for a second. You give a standard coding agent a really complex task. It starts off strong, right? But as the session drags on, as context piles up under thousands of tokens of edits, test outputs, and self-corrections, the quality just degrades. It's a structural flaw in the way most of us are currently using these models, and honestly, it's exactly what we need to solve if we want true automation.
There's this really brilliant insight from the Dudarik tech blog that hits the nail on the head here. They noted that when a single agent is doing all the work, it eventually starts optimizing for looks done rather than actually works. And why is that? Well, because the implementer and the validator are the exact same entity. There's no independent check. The model just begins to rationalize its own failures and convince you, and itself, that the code is totally fine. Grading your own homework, as it turns out, is a terrible idea for AI, just like it is for humans.
All right, here's our roadmap for today. We'll quickly cover the single-agent problem, introduce Zeroshot CLI, break down the multi-agent loop, look at blind validation, and finally, wrap up with real-world developer workflows.
Okay, part 1, the single-agent problem. Let's look at exactly why that context degrades.
When you compare workflows side by side, standard chat-based assistants or single coding agents completely fail at blind validation, and they really struggle to reliably iterate until verified. Sure, they write code, they might even run tests sometimes, but you get some output, you have to manually run tests, and then you have to decide whether to iterate. That manual loop, that is the exact bottleneck we're trying to automate away.
Which brings us to part 2, introducing Zeroshot, the Orchestration CLI.
Say hello to Zeroshot. Currently on version 5.4, this is an open-source orchestration CLI. Basically, it acts as a coordination layer sitting right on top of your provider CLIs. Now, while it does support Claude, Gemini, and OpenCode, our main focus today is on how it brilliantly wraps the OpenAI Codex CLI. It essentially takes Codex and transforms it from an interactive chatbot into a fully autonomous, multi-agent engineering team that actually checks its own work.
Moving on to part 3, the multi-agent loop. Let's tear down the engine and see how this autonomous team operates. So Zeroshot runs this highly structured 4-step multi-agent loop. Step 1 is plan. A planner agent translates your issue into concrete acceptance criteria. Step 2 is implement. A worker agent powered by Codex applies the actual changes in an isolated workspace. Step 3 is validate. Independent validator agents run automated checks. And step 4 is iterate. The system just repeats this loop over and over until the changes are verified or it returns actionable failures. It's a continuous acceptor or reject loop with automatic retries.
What's super cool here is that the architecture actually dynamically scales to the job based on task complexity. If you've got a trivial task, like fixing a typo in a README, Zeroshot spins up just one agent. But if you're implementing something critical like a payment flow, the system's conductor categorizes that complexity and will spawn up to 7 agents. That includes 5 distinct validators covering requirements, code, security, and even adversarial testing. It dynamically assigns the right amount of brainpower to the problem.
All right, part 4, blind validation. This right here is the secret weapon.
The absolutely crucial constraint of Zeroshot is that validators never ever see the worker's context or code history. This is the ultimate blind grading of the homework. The validator agent hasn't seen the implementer's struggles, the thousands of tokens of trial and error, or the messy Git history. Literally, all it sees is the final code and the original acceptance criteria. Because it completely lacks that context, a validator cannot rationalize a failure it didn't cause. If it fails, it just provides an actionable, reproducible finding and kicks it right back to the implementer to fix.
But this does bring us to a strict requirement. We call it the golden rule. If you cannot describe what done means, validators cannot verify it. Zeroshot is absolutely incredible at tasks like fixing a bug with clear reproduction steps, refactoring off to JWT, or adding rate limiting. But if your task is super vague, like make the app faster or clean up the code base, the system is going to struggle because the planner can't set concrete acceptance criteria.
You really have to be able to define the finish line.
Finally, Part 5, Real-World Developer Workflows. Let's talk integration.
Zeroshot natively supports GitHub, GitLab, Jira, and Azure DevOps out of the box. You do not have to manually copy and paste context anymore. You literally just point the Zeroshot CLI at an issue URL or an issue number, and you walk away. If you're already in a Git repository, it'll even automatically detect the issue provider from your Git remote URL with zero configuration. It's purpose-built to pull tasks directly out of your backlog.
Now, while it's doing all this work, it obviously needs a safe place to operate. Zeroshot gives you 3 isolation modes. You can run it locally with no isolation for quick little tasks. But what's really powerful is Git worktree, which is actually the default for pull requests. It automatically creates a separate working directory with its own branch. Or if you're running risky parallel experiments, you can use Docker container mode. That gives you full, pristine workspace isolation, and it even mounts the necessary provider credentials for you automatically.
I really need to emphasize a major mindset shift here. Zeroshot is targeting unattended execution, where correctness matters far more than speed. This is not a quick autocomplete in your IDE. You might point this at a complex GitHub issue, and it might run a 90-minute multi-agent loop with 5 different iteration cycles before it finally passes validation and auto-generates a pull request. You are intentionally trading away immediate speed for absolute verified correctness.
Okay, before you rush out to install it, let's do a quick requirements check from the docs. You'll need Node 18 or higher, and it currently only supports Linux or macOS environments. Keep in mind that Windows native and WSL support is specifically deferred right now while they harden multi-provider reliability. And of course, you absolutely need the provider CLI installed and authenticated. So to follow our focus today, you'd make sure the OpenAI Codex CLI is installed and logged in on your machine.
And what if you close your laptop during that 90-minute run? No problem. The entire system state is continuously persisted right into a local SQLite ledger. Every message, every plan, every piece of code is securely logged. This gives you complete crash recovery. If your terminal dies or you drop your Wi-Fi, you literally just run the resume command with the task ID, and your autonomous team picks up exactly where they left off.
Which brings us to our final thought for today's explainer. Are you ready to let an autonomous team handle your backlog while you focus on the big picture architecture? By moving away from single-agent copy-pasting and adopting a multi-agent system with blind validation powered by Codex, you can actually start trusting the code being generated. It is a massive leap forward in developer tools. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I really hope you're leaving with a clear understanding of how to level up your AI coding workflows.